I did not learn my mathematics from aliens. I never said it was zeta reticuli, did I? What? I said I never learned my mathematics from aliens, actually. My basic math. I didn't learn it from actually zeta reticuli. You didn't? No. Oh. What are you talking about? I just told you twice, all right? Did you hear? Oh, you said what? The aliens taught you math? Zeta reticuli taught you math? No, I didn't really say that. You didn't even listen to me? I'm not saying it again. What are you trying to tell me? I'm saying that if I have an understanding of humans, it, when I learned basic math, it wasn't Zeta Reticuli that actually taught me basic math. And their math books incorporated masculine and feminine into all numbers. When I learned how to divide, subtract, add, and multiply all numbers, well, the alien math book said incorporated every number had to be labeled as feminine with an F or masculine with an M, so that when I learned how when I was doing my math and learning how 5 plus 3 equals 8, and I saw 5 was an odd number that's masculine, and 3 has masculine and feminine to it, so it's both odd and even, and 8 is even only. And I also saw that the F in front of 5 was actually a feminine 5 that was in the 5th place, which is masculinity only because it's Leo the lion. And I saw that the 3 was a man who actually had a 2 and a 1, and the 2 was a feminine, it was an F2, and the 1 was a masculine, but it didn't have an M in front of it because I knew that the 1 is always masculine because it's a singularity. And are you trying to tell me that you had an alien math book and it had F's and M's in front of every number when you were practicing math for a whole 5 years? Every time you added two numbers, you saw the little F or an M in front of each one, and I also saw what it equaled. Oh, wow. So you're saying that you learned how if it's an F5, it's a feminine 5, but then the 5 is actually masculine, not feminine. She's going to be in his house. Yeah, it'll be a her that's in a his environment, and she'll be going, something's wrong. And then and then the 3 was a man who had her and himself, and he was irritated by the F. Yeah, if it was an M3, and sometimes it is, I would have said, well, if that's a man, the M3 will be a masculine 3. He'll be perfectly okay with the feminine because it's already masculine, so he'll just ignore the femininity in himself because he's using the masculinity. But if it's an F3 and it's a man, I'd say, well, if it says F3 and it's a man, I'd say, well, wait a minute. Then you have to tell me when I'm adding numbers if they're men or women. Yeah, is this 3 a man or a woman? Well, the teacher would say, that's ridiculous. It doesn't matter. It's a number. Well, don't tell me I'm going to be stupid and I have no understanding. I need to know if there's a man or a woman that's 3. It could have a 2 and a 1 in it. The 2's feminine, the 1's masculine. And if it's a man that has both, he's going to be irritated by the femininity in himself. But if it's a woman, she won't care because the 2's bigger than 1 and the 1's less. She'll use the masculinity and she'll have more femininity. So is this an F3 or an M3? M or F? What are you talking about? Teacher, don't you understand math? These numbers don't have F's or M's in front of them, son. Why not? The Zeta Reticuli told me that you're trying to teach me a form of math that doesn't teach me anything. I wouldn't even know how numbers relate because numbers aren't even mom and dad or sister and brother. I go home and I don't even know how to get along with my family because none of us know how to get along with each other or how to interrelate. No? And what does that got to do with math class? Your dysfunctional family? Nothing. Oh, then why did you say that? I didn't. Yes, you just did. You just tried to say that your dysfunctional family has something to do with your basic arithmetic and the fact that there's no F or M in front of the 3. And the 3 could be F or M. Every time I use the number 3, it could be a M or F. So then wait a minute. If we're doing math and we're using 3s and there's no F's or M's in front of them, how do we have an understanding of how women and men will get along when they're dividing and subtracting and adding and multiplying to and from, in and out of each other? Well, son, have you been taking drugs? No. Well, then what are you talking about, boy? Do you think that you need to worry about whether those numbers are feminine or masculine? What's that got to do with numbers? Just add the numbers together and then get the result, and you're done, boy. And then you go play. Yeah, but I don't have any understanding of whether they were okay with the fact that what if the 5 is a her? I don't care if the 5's not a him or her. I think it's a him only, and if it's a her, she'll be agitated by his masculinity because she's not masculine. So if it's an F5, it'll be kind of angry, but if it's an M5, it'll be happy. You trying to tell me that an M5 is different from an F5? I'm trying to tell you, you're just showing me a 5. You're not even saying if it's an F or an M. I want to know if it's an M, it's going to be a happy. M5s are happy, but F5s are always bitter. You mean to say that F5s are females that are fives? Yeah, they're Leos. They're lions. They're like, oh my God, I either have to like being aggressive and manly, or it's disturbing to me. Oh, so you're trying to say that F5s are you? Yeah. If you're going to add, anytime you add five, or you deal with a five when you're learning math, you have to know if it's an F or an M. Because if it's an M, you'll say that's a happy five. Okay, I know that five's happy. Now, what is it? What's the other number? Add to it. Okay, what about a two? What's 5 + 2? Is that an F2 or an M2? Well, that's a let's see. It's an F2. Well, I already knew two was F because two is feminine. So what if it says M2? Oh, that just means that it's a masculine and it's in the feminine house. So if it's a man, it'll be agitated by the woman. You trying to tell me that an M2 is agitated by a woman? Well, yeah, because a 2 is a feminine number and house 2 is a feminine place. If it's an M2, it says it's a masculine 2, and there's no such thing as a masculine 2. M2 just means that it's saying that it's a man who's in with the 2. And yeah, he won't like her. So M2s don't like women. M2s will be, if they're men, they won't like it. But if it's an F2, it'll be happy. Oh, you trying to tell me F2s are happy, but M2s are miserable? Yeah, because M2s are men that are subjected to the feminine, and they don't like it. And F2s are women that are in the feminine, and they love it. Oh, so you think that you need to know the difference between whether a 2 is a 2, and you're trying to tell me, boy, that F2 is something real? I'm trying to tell you that if it's an M2, it's not the same thing as if it's an F2. But boy, there are no S and M's in front of these numbers. You're supposed to go sit down at your desk and add your 2s together with your whatever else is and forget the M's and F's. But then I'm going to be a dum-dum like you. I won't even know if I won't even know if they're men or women, or if they're happy, or they're willing to get along, or if they're prone to argue, or how to approach it. Well, boy, you going to try to understand whether the numbers are going to like each other or not? Well, how do you think I'm going to get a spiritual understanding or not? God, boy, you are on some kind of drugs. You better go sit down, because I'll tell you what, where I come from, boy, we don't need to understand whether numbers are masculine or feminine. Yeah, because you live in a dysfunctional society and a dysfunctional family, and you're a dysfunctional dad, and you have a dysfunctional wife, and your kids are in a dysfunctional school, and this is a dysfunctional society, and you're a dysfunctional function. Boy, you better go to the principal's office. You talk to me like that. I'm going to go to the principal's office of that, and blah, 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 and then. And I'm going to tell the principal he's stupid too, because he doesn't even know the difference between F5 and M5. They're both men, even if one's a woman. Boy, get out of my face before I slap you upside your head and go to jail. Oh, now I'm going to go tell on you. I'm telling.